All right, folks, we're back with James Bennett Jr. with Baird's Towing. So we're gonna get off of James's story real quick. So we've got some really important information to bring to all the tow operators, all the owners, fleet managers, literally the towing industry across the United States has been blindsided. James is extremely politically connected. We do a lot of legislative stuff, but this is something that's really important. So James, I'm gonna turn this over to you and let you roll with it because this, folks, like I said, everybody, we need you to share this. We want you to know that we're doing a special episode next Tuesday, 7 p.m. on Recovery Alley. We're going to have James back with us. Myself, we're going to have Ron Myers with the Ohio Towing Association, along with Brian Walters, our attorney for Southwest Tow Operators, and we're gonna really break this stuff down to you come Tuesday. Let's give them the news, James.
All right, and we'll just dig right into this for a lot of you towers that are out there. The majority of towers that are out there, they're the regulations that come down from your state. I don't know how many states we got on board listening to this today, but it's very important that if you know another record service or you got a buddy that's in another state, that you guys start to share this, because this is not just a city thing or a state thing. This has gone nationwide and rolled out a couple of days ago under the the U.S. Department of Transportation. There is a big memo that was put into play that happened to piggyback off of a new rule. For those of you that don't understand the difference between a rule and a bill that gets passed, is that typically a bill gets passed during session time. When you're not in session at any given time, they can go in and do a amendment or a change to the rule. So the rule can go through at any time. Here a couple of days ago, it got pushed in to where they started February 7th on this deal when it finally got pushed in, but they actually started working on it the end of last year. And this bill is to regulate towing to an extent across the United States. So for those of you that are just in Texas, this goes way past what we're doing here legislatively. This is kind of the puppet master that holds the strings. This piece of work comes into play. If you guys can kind of see on there, this is not something that's short-lived. This is 58 pages that has just nothing to do but with the towing industry, and it talks about predatory towing, and it talks about fees that are in excess, hidden fees. Give you a little background on this. This ruling was coming through. It was not anything to do with the towing industry. The towing industry was completely out of it. They did an extension period of review on this, and this was turned in on the 7th. The end of the review process was the 8th of February. So the whole time that we had public comments, we had hearings on this. This is in DC, by the way. No tower attended this. No tower gave public comments on this. No tower went online and logged in to check to see if there was anything to do with towing. So literally the last hour of the day before it was to be turned in, the Federal Trade this was turned into the Federal Trade Commission by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. It was put in that said, hey, we feel that this falls along lines with your deceptive practice and hidden fees ruling that you're trying to make right now. So going forward, it got, we'll use the word snuck in, because nobody got to give their comments on it and no one knew anything about it in our industry. Opinions of a lot of people in the towing industry is this came down from the Truckers Association, and the Truckers Association, from some of the reports that are in this document, that by the way, we'll have listed the full link on it so you can download it and read it all.
Back in.
It,
You
it
take me
talks
out when I'm
about,
done talking.
you there?
Yep.
Okay. It talks about the towers and the predatories actions that happen inside towing, whether it's private property, consent, or non consent. As you go through and you read all of this stuff, you'll see that they never mention towers as an individual company or an individual part of the industry. Every time they use the word towers, right before that is the word predatory tower. It's very, I guess, smart on their end because this document will go in front of all of the legislative side and the ruling side up in DC. So every senator, every person that's on the Capitol Hill, when they get this document, they're going to associate towing with predatory towing. That's one issue that we see on this side. The next issue on this side is there's a lot of information that's misinformation and it's convoluted when it talks about consent towing, private property towing, and incident management towing for police municipalities. Going forward with that, it's they're using towing as a general to umbrella everything that's bad and making towing itself bad. Um, they use again the word predatory towing 220 times within this 58-page document that has been submitted to the Federal Trade Commission. For people that do not understand that, the Federal Trade Commission has the power to put rulings out there and then get those rulings passed. So your state law or your local branch of government has no say so but to follow this. Along with the predatory towers that they use, they also use the words junk fees and deceptive practices. The history behind this before towing got involved in it is under the current administration, they wanted to go after organizations that had hidden fees. Okay, so there's a lot of industries out there that all of us use, airlines, power companies, etc. That there's a lot of stuff that's put in the fine print. And if you don't read it, you don't really know. And there's not a lot of people that go through and read that small print. If you've got that kind of time on your hands, then more power to you. But in the let's say the power grids, the power companies, those giants during the 2021 storms, people had certain rates that were locked in, and those rates were bypassed because of the hidden fees and stuff that were put in there. The airlines, the same thing. There's fees. They literally have commercials that talk about no hidden fees. So that's how bad it got in that industry. Well, in our industry, there are, just like every industry, there are black eyes in this industry, and those black eyes have rubbed a lot of insurance companies and a lot of motor vehicle owners and big corporations the wrong way when it comes to towing fees and recovery fees. Let me be clear on this, that this document is a foot in the door because it talks about commercial motor vehicles. So this generally applies to all the heavy duty stuff that's out there. A lot of companies that don't do heavy duties might sit back and say, well, this doesn't apply to, a private property, or we just do repos when it comes to Class C vehicles. This foot in the door will give them the power to go in this next go around and start regulating prices across the United States for any type of fee that you charge. You often hear in a meeting that we had today, we had almost 50 companies. It was right at 49 companies, individuals that were on this phone call across the United States, along with different towing associations all across the United States. That's how big this is. When you talk about what stage is this in, we're past the halfway point for this to be able to get passed. And for you folks that are out there that don't think, again, that this would apply to you, it applies to you deeply, because right now the biggest thing that we fight in the state of Texas is being overregulated. Currently, we're regulated under TDLR, and TDLR is a great avenue to go to keep a balance. There's no question about that. However, there are times that boundaries are overstepped on both sides of the fence, and this makes it really hard to negotiate back and forth on what the towers feel is right, because this is on a federal level. And
So,
they're not.
James, just real quick, real quick. So, I don't mean to interrupt. Just so everybody understands the gravity of what's going on. It's like James said. We know that we have bad actors in the towing industry. We know we do. So, and federal, they don't care about the collateral damage. We were in a meeting, like you said, there's like 49, 50 companies in there. And I guarantee you that every one of those companies that was there are good, honest, hardworking towing companies. Because we're not going to have somebody that's causing all this problem in this meeting. They don't want to be there. But this was so sneaky, the tactic that they used. And if y'all don't, I know a lot of y'all might not understand the legislative process, but so they opened this up for public comments. They extended it through February 8th, the last day of this deal. They slid this thing in there, and nobody knew about it. We heard some stuff last year, but nobody knew this was coming. Matt Parks with the Oklahoma Association, he's on right now. He started emailing every towing association in the United States, and you would be amazed at how many of them responded back with, "What are you talking about?" That's bad. When you have 15 towing associations that had no idea this was going on. So this is when it's been tough in the towing industry, but we have got to unite, and we have got to fight this battle together. There's strength in numbers. It's time to, I don't care if it's your worst enemy, that we all got to get together. We all have to do that. James made a comment today. It's all hands on deck. I apologize for the interruption, James. Go on and take it.
Now, again, this is one of those, as they talked about in the meeting earlier today, this is like a class of level 5. I mean, the house is on fire. And if you don't think that your house and whoever your competition's house is, I mean, they're both going down at the same time. I will tell you that part of the discussion amongst a separate conversation with a bunch of the colleagues that are in different parts of the United States is that this document only serves one side, and everybody knows that there's two sides to every story. However, this side was snuck in at the last hour, and before this document was put in, there was no mention of towing in this rule. So let me make that clear. From the whole 3 months that they were putting this stuff together, at this time that it was going to go into a rule, towing was never mentioned into this. So the theory, and again, this is on the theory part, we're not saying that pointing the fingers, but there is the Truckers Association and the Truckers Association's lobby, because they're united a lot better than the towers across the United States. And that part of this is just facts. Okay. So our footprint in DC is nowhere near the size of the truckers and the insurance companies and the lobbyists that they have working for them. So it's real important for us as an industry and not as a competitor to understand the gravity of how this is going to affect your business. It has nothing to do with you charging $10 less than your competitor or your competitor charging $10 more than you. This has everything to do with they're going to take that right away, not up front, but in the long run, because once it starts going down this road, there's no end in sight in what they want to control.
James, do you see the question on the screen? Brian Gilmore has asked, please explain the effects if it passes. And y'all need to understand, they're not just talking police initiated tows, incident management tows. They're talking about coming in and regulating consensual tows. Somebody calls you and wants you to take a vehicle to a shop. They're going to try and regulate that. So if you could please answer Brian's question about, please explain the
No,
effects if
that's
it
good.
passes.
I need to click over here to the comment section. So I apologize. I did not have that up. But so the long run down the road would be the fact that they can regulate what the pricing is within the states. Okay. It's obviously not going to be the same in every state, but the Federal Trade Commission will go in and do a fee study on every state, and then that will be capped, just like a lot of states right now have a cap on private property. I know here in the state of Texas, TDLR regulates the private property tows when it comes to the non-consent portion of that. However, they do not regulate the non-consent part of it that is municipality driven. Okay, so that means if you've got a contract with your city, you go through a bid process, you've legally won that bid. However, now they're wanting to go in and say, okay, cities, you can no longer regulate this. You can no longer put on the pricing structure of it. You can choose who you want to tow for you. However, it's going to eventually end up to this is the max price that they can charge. So it puts all of these towing companies that have different expenses. Everybody here in Texas knows that we don't have the same fuel costs that they have in California. Okay. They also know that the insurance market in Texas is a very small market, which, some of that has been discussed in past meetings with other associations in other states. And, real quick, you have the Oklahoma Towers Association, the Arkansas, the Ohio that was involved in this, and kudos to those guys that are trying to get this word out as well. But the gravity of this is, imagine going home, or imagine, working all week and going to the grocery store and them allotting you on how much you can spend at the grocery store when you've got X amount of people. Some people have 6 people in their family, some people have 10 people in their family. But the way that this is written, it leaves the door wide open for a regulation on a US scale, so to speak, so that they can start with this and then there's no end in sight. And like I mentioned before, when it comes to these Truckers Association and this is the Insurance Institute, they have no means of money because they're doing this with the money that you pay them. Okay. And they're scamming us on the money that we don't get paid. A part of this document that, I hope everybody goes, it's a long read. It's very frustrating because if you're a business owner and you're out there and you start reading this, the, the first 3 pages, you're going to say, that's not right. That's not how it works. This is crap. But the reality is that you don't get to have that say so anymore because it's already turned in and there's no more comments that are to be had. So what needs to happen is that this is going to turn into a lawyer up and as a whole, one united front go in and fight this thing, which is part of the conversations that we've had earlier. The next part of this that when you guys and gals start reading this is that you're going to see that each part of this overlaps the other, and it encompasses private property with incident management tows like you would do for your municipality. And they're trying to state that those rules are the same and that you're misrepresenting yourself as a company by the fees that you charge under these rules. In Texas, we have to post our rules, in our lobby or make them available upon request. They have the rules. We have to post the TDLR website to where they can email if they have a complaint. There's so many regulations that we currently abide by right now This will change all of that.
So James, real quick, we're gonna take a break for one of our sponsors. The next show on February 29th, we're gonna have Tom Parbs from Hosalert. Hosalert is a safety device that's put inside our wreckers, uh, ambulances, fire engines, police, and it's a tool that gives off an alert that tells people that we're working on the side of the road ahead of them. It's a great safety device. It's not a silver bullet, but Haas Alert is making leaps and bounds and making it safer out there for us. So real quick, a word from Tom Parbs with Haas Alert.
Hey everybody, my name is Tom Parbs. I'm the executive director at Haas Alert. A little bit about Haas Alert. We are an advanced digital alerting system that actually warns drivers of the tow trucks and first responders that are operating on the roadway. We get people's attention, we disrupt their phone calls, disrupt the radio, we disrupt that distraction. We give them up to 30 seconds advance warning, almost up to a half of a mile at faster speeds, so the motoring public can actually slow down and move over. Our towers will go home safer to their families. Our first responders will go home safer to their families, and we're really saving lives. So if you wanted to reach us, you can reach us at haasalert.com. That's HAAS alert.com. You can reach out to me directly, Tom, T-O-M, at haasalert.com. And we're a proud sponsor and love working with the Southwest Towing Operators Association. And thank you, everyone, for what you're doing. You're saving lives, and we've got your back when you're out there on the roadway. Again, I'm Tom Parbs with Haas Alert. Thank you for all that you do.
So, folks, we've got to understand what we're up against when we talk about the National Trucking Association. We talk about the insurance lobbyists and stuff. They have got a war chest of money. They've got a war chest. It's going to take a lot to fight this. And then when we talk about uniting, we're gonna have to dig in our pockets, folks. Where do you think we're at with this, James?
Well, this is going to have to be a very heavily funded campaign to go forward with this. Real quick, if y'all want to get involved in this, and I really mean this with all due respect, but if you own a company and you don't get involved, you're nailing your own coffin. Okay, you can reach out to our Southwest Tow Operators here in Texas at mail@southwesttowop.org, and you can get involved that way, or you can reach out to Ron Myers with Pine Tree Towing. His email is ron@pinetreetowing.com. All of this collectively came in. We're going to have this posted on this Southwest Tow Operators website on this Recovery Alley. We'll have the link to where you can read this document. We'll also, there was another question that talks about would this be even, what does it say? This would even regulate consent tows from Tasha Moore. Wonderful, wonderful woman, full of knowledge, great person to be able to represent our industry here at Southwest Tow Operators.
Yep, she's also our first vice president and our legislative chair.
And she keeps all of us in line. So we thank you for that. With that said, yes, this does have the ability to start regulating consent tows. So in this document and from some of the back corners of the DC, some of the stuff that's brought this on is obviously the Truckers Association, but from the insurance side of it, it is when companies have 50 to 60 line items for equipment being used. Okay, the insurance company has expressed that they feel that if they call a wrecker to the scene or a police department calls a wrecker to a scene, whatever's on that truck is part of the wrecker fee. There's a lot of companies that are out there, and it's not dogging anybody out or trying to talk ill will of somebody, but when you charge for the use of snatch blocks and you're charging for the wire rope and you're charging for, The way that the insurance company views this is that should have been built into your hourly price or your record fee price. And so you get gloves and boots and pants and vests and hard hats and all this stuff, which is not in this document, but part of another conversation that has been had. You know, the insurance companies are coming back thinking, man, we're nickel and dime for everything. And, you know, there's no way that these guys can charge for this. But then, as all of you owners know, when you're talking with these insurance companies on the phone and you start negotiating this price, automatically in this document, you'll see that they say they have room for negotiation. That means they're overcharging. It is in here. You will see it. And so when you start to put that into perspective, pardon my French, but you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. One of the key elements that's missing into this document is the cost of doing business. There is very minimum about the cost of doing business. And the cost of doing business in Texas, like I said, or in Florida or in DC or all the way across to California, they're different. Okay. They don't know what the equipment you have. They don't know if you have old equipment, the latest and greatest. And on top of that, these guys aren't out on the road there at 3 o'clock in the morning while you or your drivers are working an accident with full-size truck and trailers coming by at 70, 75 miles an hour. And that's the purpose of the wreck that you're out there working to begin with. There's no consideration in this document for any of that. It's very one-sided. It paints every towing company, not state, not city, every towing company, it paints you as a predator tower. There is not one time that you're going to go through here and it's going to say on the towing side that, again, you don't see the word predator towing in front of it. Okay. This is a big deal because when you have these people up in DC, it comes across their mind towing. They wrote this in mind of when they think of towing, it'll say predator towing in front of it. So keep that part in mind. The next part that they don't have in mind is the insurance that we pay. Right now, there was a study that was put out to where if you had no accidents throughout the whole entire year and you go renew, it's a minimum of a 12% increase than you were the year before. There's no regulation when it comes to, you know, this part of what the insurance company's doing. So you've got the Truckers Association and what they feel is pretty much in this document criminal of everything that every towing company is doing. And then you've got the insurance companies that are supporting them because of the high payouts that they're doing, but they don't understand how much you paid your employees, your insurance, your fuel. And when I say insurance, I mean health insurance. Obviously, they understand your transportation part of the insurance, but health insurance, the dispatchers that you got, all these different parts of what your business runs off of, there's no clue. And if it starts down this road, which it already has, when you go past that, it's a long way to go back uphill.
You know, so Ron Parrish is in here, and he brought up a point. He said, you know, he's talking about the majority of the invoices that are submitted. They continue to lack stuff that you need. You're lacking pictures. You're lacking narratives. And this is all stuff. If you're going to be a professional towing company, you're going to be working accidents, especially nowadays with cell phones. I mean, pictures. You could be there for an hour. You could be there for an hour and a half. Get your pictures, and an accident narrative is imperative. I've had insurance companies, and mind you, I've never had a complaint filed against my company. Okay, I've had insurance companies call me and start in, you know, hey, we got coverage issues. I think this bill is excessive, and I asked him. I said, by any chance, did you read my accident narrative? And he says, I didn't see it. I said, well, it was attached in the email. Go on and take a look at it, and so then the next phone call I get, this is a good thing. Is when you know you've got a good narrative. Can you send me a W-9? So
Absolutely. But going forward, again, when you read into this document, they reference tow bills. Okay. There's a tow bill, and I want to say that this tow bill came out of Indiana, I believe it was, and it's $202,000. Okay. They just referenced the tow bill. Okay. There's no breakdown in it. There's in the other conversation, when it talked about pictures that you're talking about, Jeff, is give the insurance companies the pictures. Okay. If you're a reputable company, you have nothing to hide. Give them the pictures, show them the equipment that was on scene. And that way you've already killed the argument. But there are a lot of companies out there that tell the insurance companies, if you want pictures, that's extra. And that's it's my opinion, that's not right. You're only furthering the complaint process if your state has a guidelines that they can go through to form a complaint, and you're spinning your wheels and you're spending your money trying to fight a complaint that you're right in, but if you'd just given the pictures, it would have gone away. This tow bill that's $202,000, this is factual, guys. This stuff is not made up. You go in there. The problem is that all the information that's published in this document, there's no supporting facts that go with it when it comes to this. Okay. The supporting facts would have been nice to know if this guy just worked this recovery and it was a flipped over empty dry van and he did it with one truck and he charged $202,000. There's a problem in that. But now if this was a truck and trailer that went off the side of the bridge in 9-degree weather into a creek bottom and was loaded with paint, that's going to be an extensive bill. You've got hazmat involved in it. You've got a very huge recovery process that's going to have a big footprint in both the travel of commerce and how many individuals are going to be out there working that, let alone the cost of the equipment that goes out there. Going into that detail, it also doesn't talk about the fuel rates that have gone up, the insurance rates that's gone up, the price of steel that's gone up that affects the price that you buy your equipment for. We've gone back just with my company from 2021, which is when this stuff was initiated, when this document and the people that initiated this document had a study done by a university. And from 2021 till now, it's almost 51% markup for the exact same truck. The chassis, the bed to today, we're 51% markup, and you don't account for that.
These markups started when COVID hit. We had the supply chain issues. I think some of the chassis manufacturers figured something out, James. They started putting these builders.
That's what they figured out. You're going to pay it. Okay.
They put the builders on allocation, so they're not getting the chassis that they used to get.
Right.
So it's a supply and demand deal. COVID's gone. Most of the supply chain issues are gone. And we've still had, 3 or 4 more price increases since then.
Correct.
And what's going on now, if you think it's going to affect the towing industry, think about the manufacturers. I'm not going to mention any names. You know who all the big manufacturers are. Let's think about the vendors that provide our rigging, our equipment, our safety vests, anything we use in the towing industry, because this is going to hit a lot of people really hard. There's going to be some good companies out there that have been in business for 35, 40, 50 years. The owner's got a piece of property on the lake. He doesn't have to do this. And they're going to quit. They're going to quit. And what they don't realize is what happens when we don't have qualified towing companies to clear the roads. What are the roads going to look like? I mean, they haven't seen the impact of what this could cause down the road. We've already got a broken economy, and they're tearing it up more doing this.
Right. And for the most part, all that is down the road. But here's the thing of it is in today's market, you can't fault the manufacturers for the price increases. I have no issue putting it out there. I'm a big Miller guy. I've got a crap ton of Miller equipment, millions and millions of dollars of it. But I can't fault Miller for it because Miller has no idea what the next quarter in metal is going to bring. They have no idea what the next quarter of diesel is going to bring. Prior to COVID, there was a great projection on where the cost analysis was going to be. But today, we could have a computer chip shortage, and that changes the whole ball game. We could have diesel go up $2. That changes the whole ball game. The price of steel could go up, and again, we're in a whole different ball game. So it's not a point the finger at that, but that reality needs to be spoken when these people are given their study, and none of that was done. No towing company was sitting out there. The majority of all the information that they gathered was open records request and complaint process. Okay. Well, everybody complains about everything. We had a complaint on us. Jeff, you and I talked about this earlier. We had a complaint that this insurance company says we charge them $30,000 for a recovery. Sorry, they said we charge them $30,000 for a tow. Okay. When the police department contacted us, we sent them the full jacket on it. It was nowhere near $30,000. It was right at close to $20,000. And this was a completely upside down truck and trailer that went off the side of a bridge loaded with watermelons. Okay. And by the way, it was in the freezing rain. So there's no consideration for what those towers got to go out there and they got to do. You guys go out there and you'll work an accident that's 6 or 7 hours long. And when you're working that accident, there's no shift change. Okay. But during that 6 or 7 hours, with all due respect, you'll see the fire department do a shift change. You'll see the police departments do shift change. And we're out there with the most liability. We pay the taxes on all pieces of equipment that's out there. Okay. We pay the insurance for all the employees that are out there, even the government employees. And on top of that, we pay 100% of our wreckers, our employees, our insurance, our fuel, you name it. We're the largest liability when we're out there on the roadway, and we're the least protected. There's nobody in any other industry that can dispute that the towers are the least protected when it comes to working on the U.S. highways, and they have no benefit.
So James, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we might be one of the only industries that get called to a job before we ever know if we're going to get paid for it. See, that's what people don't realize is the percentages are probably different all over the place. A lot of people are saying, it's at 50, 60% mark that we do not get paid for that recovery. So all of y'all that think we're out there living high on the hog, making all this money, you would not believe how much money is lost annually in the towing industry because of uninsured, underinsured. There's all kinds of stuff. People don't take that into consideration, right, James?
That's 100% true, because even after you've worked the accident and you bring it to the yard and you're arguing back and forth with the insurance company or the owner operator of the truck, you could still be 30, 60, 90 days out. In the state of Texas, obviously, we have the right to auction it off 45 days. But when we auction it, we take that money and apply it to the bill, and then we have to spend who knows how long. We've got collection agencies that are on staff just to go try to collect these bills after we've collected the auction proceeds off of it. So, and then when you're finished with that, all your employees already got paid. Okay. All your insurance, your fuel, the truck payments, you name it, all that stuff's been paid, but the company is the last to get paid for it. So there is a reserve. There is a price of doing business that's a little bit above what the next guy can do it for. This bill does not, let me make this clear. It's not a bill. This is a ruling. Okay. This ruling does not just affect the towing industry. This goes after the fees that are not, so to speak, proven up front. So this bill could affect, like we talked about before, the airlines industry. This fee could affect the Walmart's. Walmart builds into their price for stolen goods that happened the quarter before. Okay, so you go buy milk and somebody has stolen significant amount of items from that Walmart. Well, the next quarter, Walmart changes their prices to make up for things that have been stolen. And it's not a secret. You see it all across the news where people are going into Targets and Walmarts and they're grabbing stuff and they're going out and stuff. That's the cost that they incur. So they can't eat it. So somebody has to pay that bill. When it comes to that same situation, we're there with non-consent tow directed by a municipality. Okay. The police departments require you to have X amount of records at their disposal 24 hours a day. Well, for that record to sit, it comes with a cost. The only way that we can recoup that cost, or the main way that we recoup that cost, is the price of a municipality tow is higher than the price of an individual tow because that truck is set there and wait. Now, on top of just that price that you have, you've got to take into consideration that you've got it 6 times over or 4 times over, whatever your record contract is limiting you to. And then on top of that, you have to meet the qualifications when it comes to, you got to be there in 30 minutes. We are an industry that we can't run code. We're not cop cars. We're not fire trucks. We're not ambulances. Okay. So we have to make the average ETA of, let's say a light duty would be 30 minutes. You have to meet that ETA when the average across the state of Texas is a 7-minute ETA to an accident scene. For a police car, fire car, or a fire truck, or a EMS is 7. Okay. They get to run the red lights. They get to use excessive speed. They're exempt from a lot of that. So when you put that into the perspective, I mean, 7, times 4, I mean, we're right there by not being able to run those codes, but yet we're expected to be held to this standard. Great equipment, training officers, training our employees, paying each city for permits, paying the state for licenses. It's already stacked against you before you start that truck.
This is, I don't know if y'all have grasped this yet. This is big. Every towing association in the United States is having a problem with membership. James, you can remember when TDLR came in and everybody was scared. Our membership was at its peak level.
Okay? I had gray hair then.
James has spent way more time at the Capitol than I have, but we've both spent a lot of time at the Capitol fighting for the towing industry in Texas. So as TDLR, as people weren't as worried about TDLR, our membership started dropping off. And we're always doing membership drives, be a part of your association, not just in Texas. Whatever your state association is, you need to be involved. You need to be a member. People started having a mentality that why are we going to be a member? They're going to the Capitol. They're going to take care of this. Well, folks, this is why. This is why you need to be a member of your state's towing association. Because now we're in a bind. We're in a big bind. And we're going to have to come up with a lot of money. And when I say a lot of money, I say it's a lot of zeros, or a lot of people's lives are going to change.
This is probably estimated, without lawsuits getting filed, right at $1 million. And then once you pass into the lawsuit phase, because there's going to be a lot of entities that'll be involved in this, including suing the U.S. government, if it comes to that type of a push. And everybody's like, well, can you do that? Yeah, you can absolutely do that. If you follow politics in the last 4 years or 3 years, I mean, it's almost every day, and it's sad that you guys go out there and you gals go out there and you put your life on the line every day, every night, 24/7, 365 days a year, sacrifice time, birthdays, anniversaries. And sometimes we even have to sacrifice funerals. And sometimes we're going to funerals because of this industry. And now the whole industry in DC is painted as predator towers, and that's not nowhere near the truth. You guys are great people. You have great hearts. A lot of times, you're out there and you help somebody, and you do it at half the cost or no cost. And then the other part of the times, we don't get paid. And that's what we've done here just in house at Beers is we went back and we take the storage that we've got, the vehicles that have went to auction, how many vehicles went to auction, what that was owed when it went to auction, and then what we got for the auction. So when you take that price, you sell a vehicle's owed $1,700 on it, and it sells for $350. That offset, we still don't even get to write off. Okay, so every corner you turn in this industry is a lot of brick walls. But the good thing about it is that we found over the last 12 years, Jeff's gotten involved this past 6 to 8 years, is when we go down to the Capitol and we make this voice be heard. And Tasha is keeping us in line like a bunch of cats. They listen, and we've done a lot of great things. All you towers that are in the state of Texas, when you see that you get to charge that credit card fee and you don't have to eat it, that was done right here with these two guys that you're listening to. And I think we still might have Tasha on there. We got Tim Ward on there. We went down to the Capitol. We had this bill written. We pushed and pushed and pushed. We brought our family members. We brought our kids. I'm pretty sure if they'd have let us bring animals in there, we could have had that happen. And it passed. And so for a company of an average size, it's almost $20,000 a year profit back into their bottom line. And you don't see that part of it. This is the participation part that we're talking about today that has to be done on a national level now. We need you guys to jump on board. If you want the information on what we need to do next, those 2 emails that I gave you, you can go to the Southwest Tow Operators site. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have more news and stuff up there. We're committed to getting you the knowledge that you need to be a part of this fight. And I say fight. Earlier today in the conversation, even the attorneys that we were talking to that are in DC, they said, man, this is not a fight. This is a war. Okay. It seems very drastic, but it is. This is your business. This is your livelihood. You need to fight for it. You need to do everything that you can. Even if it's donating $200 or $300 or $5,000, whatever it is, towards this organization that's going to be formed to fight this, you need to jump on board and you need to do it.
James, Big Humphreys had a question. It's already down, but his question was, what do we need to do to all get on the same page?
So you need to get involved with those emails that I told you. You need to get involved in this site. Hopefully within the next 24 to 48 hours, and I mean all the way until Monday, we're going to try to create some type of alliance to where you can join that and you can get involved and help fight it that way. With that said, there's going to be a lot of literature and a lot of updates that are going to be given on those bases and through those links. The main thing that I'll tell you is get your association and tell them, hey, look at this link, look at this document. We have to get involved. This is not your competition's problem. Okay. This is you and your competition's problem. Let's see, how many associations do we have in Michigan? Towing Association has at least 3 members. You need to send this. I'm pretty sure, if I'm wrong, Jeff, correct me, but you'll be able to take this broadcast and forward it, and they can watch this whole segment. Am I right?
Correct. Yes, this will be on Southwest Tow Operators Facebook page. Yes, it will. It'll also be on Baird's Towing. It'll also be on Roadrunner Towing. You can still you're going to be able to view this after the show is done. Okay.
Well, I know we've kind of gone a little bit longer than what we intended to do, Jeff, and it's just a lot of knowledge. It's hard dissect 56 pages of this stuff, but I'll tell you right now, sorry, 58 pages of this stuff, but when you read this, you're going to see how they have misrepresented not only the towers, but the procedures in which the towing is done. They do mention the fact that there's a difference between it, but when they go into details between consent, non-consent, and police initiated tows, they leap over each other and they pull data from one part of this industry and put it in the other. And the reason that they did that is for the sole purpose of whoever reads this document, they're not going to dislike you. Okay, they're going to hate you.
The whole deal is it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It's what they have made them believe.
Correct.
And man, James, I've said it 100 times. I love this industry. This industry has been good to me, and I like it. And I'm pretty good. You're great, but I'm pretty good. But we're going to post this link to these documents that James is talking about here in just a little bit. I'll get the link posted up on Southwest Tow Operators, and like I said, we went a little longer than we normally do. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and remember, folks, we're going to be advertising, but we are going to have a special episode of Recovery Alley next Tuesday night. Tuesday, I believe, is going to be the 20th, Tuesday the 20th. We're going to have myself again, James Bennett Jr. is going to be on. We're going to have Brian Walters, Southwest Tow Operators attorney. He's going to really be able to nail stuff down for you. So everybody, make sure they share this and get it out there, because Tuesday, if you think you got information tonight, you're going to be on information overload come Tuesday.
The information come Tuesday is going to be a collective of what we know now and the direction that we're going to in the future. There's a gentleman on here, David Mason. He said perception is reality. That could not be more true in today's world. It doesn't matter. This is literally a quote, movie followers from Denzel Washington. He says, it doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be remotely true. All it needs to be is first. We don't care who it hurts. Just put it out there. And what's happened in this document and several other documents, I want to say right now, myself collectively, I have 11 different documents that pertain to this right here. This being a huge final draft. This is a perception. This isn't truth. Okay. And the fact of it is when we go down to the Capitol just here in Texas, our rule is you got to capture their attention within 3 minutes. Okay. If you can't get your point across within 3 minutes and have them intrigued in your situation, you have very little odds. Okay. This document in the first 2 paragraphs talks about what a rotten industry we are, and nobody wants to be towed, period. So when you put those 2 images together, it doesn't matter if you got a nice fancy car and you don't want to drive it, you want it towed to a show. It doesn't matter if you break down on the side of the highway or you've been in an accident. There is nobody that wants to be towed. So it's a negative situation, period. And what they have done is they've taken that negative situation and they've put this into a document and they've painted every tower across the United States to be a criminal organization.
Right. I mean, nobody's having a good day when they're calling a tow truck. Nobody's having a good day. Just real quick, David Mason is my operations manager, and he is my right hand man.
All right. Well, that's a great point.
He's an amazing individual for me. Does a great job. But we're going to go on and wrap it up. I appreciate your time tonight, James. Again, be back here next Tuesday. For myself, James, Brian Walters, and Ron Myers with Pine Tree Towing and the Ohio Towing Association. Again, it's going to be on information overload.
give Ron credit. Ron is kind of the forefront. For those of you that don't know Ron, he is the 2023 American Towman of the Year, and Ron had gotten wind of this and started the conversations amongst a group of towers. And after that conversation, this document came out and obviously grew legs and feet. We're trying to stop it from running, and we have to have your help. It's not a need. We have to have your help in supporting this and getting the correct information put out there. Even if we have to do our own study, this, though there is some truth in this, the majority of this is false.
Right, right. So, again, we'll see you on Tuesday night, everybody. And remember, get the word out there. If you see our emergency lights activated on the side of the road, please slow down and move over and give us some room to work. We've lost 2 tow truck operators in the state of Texas in less than a week. It's deadly out there, folks. Everybody stay safe, and we'll see you next week on Recovery Alley.